The 9/11 attacks. How can an airplane made of aluminum, a lighter material, cut through the strong steel perimeter column of the building?
Aluminium versus steel. Let's see who's going to win the battle. And don't try this at your home. Aluminium cutting through steel material, a lighter material through heavy material. Remember, there is no such rule in the material science saying that a lighter material cannot cut through a heavy material. Another great example is high-speed water jet cutting through metals.
Here comes the next big question. In the rubble of 9/11, you'll not be able to find an airplane. How could it just disappear? Look at this image from the 2014 Ukraine-Russia war. These are the remains of a fighter aircraft. Those days, aluminum alloys were a major material used in airplane manufacturing. The aluminum alloys were used to craft fuselage, wings, and other structural components. However, aluminum melts at around 660 degrees Celsius. That day, the jet fuel fire temperature exceeded this melting point. However, it is important to note that landing gear, a torn-away portion of fuselage, the engine, and some other parts of the plane were found in the vicinity of the building. Please observe this video carefully. What? During the collapse, did the spire of the building go down first? Pay special attention to the line in the spire. It seems like the spire is going down even before the main building started moving. Why did this happen? To answer this question, let's learn more about the physics of the collapse. The twin tower buildings had a perimeter tube design. The building's columns are placed according to this tube arrangement. This core acts as the major component of the building, bearing the majority of the gravity load. When the hijacked jetliner crashed into the building, it damaged the major perimeter columns as well as the core columns of the building. The leaked jet fuel burnt around the floor and caused a massive increase in temperature. The increased temperature in the impact zone softened the structural steel elements. Also, it made the concrete floor sag, creating a dent in the impact zone. You can easily understand from this experiment how a dent is formed on perimeter columns when the floors are sagging. This is real video footage in which you can see the dent being formed. The dent in the perimeter columns have a catastrophic effect on the building. Just observe this Coca-Cola can experiment. As soon as you add a small dent on the can collapses. Similarly, in the WTC 1 and 2 buildings, also the perimeter columns buckled and the top portion of the building collapsed with a tilt. Now, let's replay the same animation from a different camera angle. The same camera angle of the real footage. When the top portion of the building tilts, you get an illusion that the antenna is going down. This is the reason why it seems like the antenna went down first. Later on, the building would come crashing down like a house of cards. The collision of a gigantic, fast-moving jetliner transferred kinetic energy that induced a complex set of vibrations and forces. These vibrations contributed to the swaying motion of the building. What do you think was the key holding structure for the building during swaying? Of course, the swaying was only possible because of the building's extremely strong foundation. The foundation of the Twin Towers extended down till the bedrock, providing a solid base for the structures. The slurry concrete wall supported the foundation, which was strengthened using the tieback cables. Before the 9/11 attack, on February 26, 1993, with the help of 606 kilograms of urea nitrate hydrogen gas enhanced explosive, terrorists attacked near the foundation of the North Tower of the World Trade Center. The bombing attack targeted the underground parking garage of the North Tower. The terrorists' main aim was to destroy the strong foundation of the building and make it collapse onto the south tower, taking both skyscrapers down. Fortunately, terrorists failed in their attempt. However, the bombing attack created a 100-foot wide hole through 4 sublevels of the concrete foundation. The bathtub foundation technology saved the Twin Towers from the 1993 bombing attack. The impact of 2 jet airliners on the Twin Towers caused a massive fire to roar through the building. The South Tower stood strong for 56 minutes, then fully collapsed in a few seconds. After the impact, the North Tower stood strong for 1 hour 42 minutes. Later, when the collapse of the tower initiated, it went down in just a few seconds. Now, let's learn more about the progressive collapse of the World Trade Center towers. The core column region experienced higher temperatures. If you observe carefully as we move away from the impact zone, the effect of temperature decreases. It also means that these particular regions didn't experience any temperature effect, and the steel structure in these regions had better strength than that of the affected region. As we have seen earlier, the dent in the perimeter columns resulted in the buckling of the columns, which initiated the collapse. Since the enormous weight of the collapsing floors damaged the floors below them. Remember, the core columns here had a high temperature, and they couldn't offer any resistance to the falling down top building portion. Due to this, the collapse progressed further. As the upper section of each tower began to fall, the collapse gained momentum and mass as it moved downward, damaging the intact structures of the building. However, the lower floors, which are having low temperatures and good strength, gave good resistance to the falling floors. Due to this, some portions of the core columns stood unaffected even after the falling of large amounts of debris. This is why the collapse of the Twin Towers is described as the progressive collapse. You might have heard a lot of rumors that the towers came down in just 9 and 11 seconds respectively. That is the time taken by the building to collapse at freefall speed. How is this possible? The reality is that nobody knows how much time the building took to collapse. The starting time of the collapse is clear, but the end is not at all clear. The entire vicinity is covered with heavy dust. Then where did the 9 and 11 seconds come from? This comes from the NIST website. If you read NIST's statement carefully, the 9 seconds is the time taken by the first debris from the building to hit the ground. They found out this time duration from the seismic analysis. The question is why this time cannot be at freefall speed, because the debris from the building travels at freefall speed through the air without much resistance. If you visit the location of WTC 1 and 2 today, you'll be able to see 2 memorial pools, officially called reflecting pools. The sheer scale of the pools reflects the size and majesty of the original towers. They also symbolize the absence of what once stood there. Construction of One World Trade Center began in December 2006, and the building opened in November 2014. It stands on the site of the former World Trade Center 6, which was destroyed by debris from the collapse of the Twin Towers.
Cutting an aluminum sword through steel pipe was not so easy. You need extreme high speed for that. Here are some of my failed attempts happened due to my low speed. If you want to see how aluminum penetrates through steel at your home, do this experiment with me. Arrange some aluminum nails like this, also an MS plate. Keep the plate above bearing and just hit hard. You can see the result. The aluminum has penetrated through the MS plate. I hope this video was informative for you. And before you leave, if you can support us on Patreon, that'll be so helpful for me and my team. Hoping for your support. Take care. Bye-bye.